I think we are good. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm super excited. This is one of my favorite topics to teach and train on content, specifically contagious content. I feel like content that's viral has to be contagious first. In other words, it has to engage people, it has to connect with them in some way before it becomes viral. So, hence the term contagious content. So as you're coming in, just give me a shout out. Where in the world are you today? I know we are trying something new today. So we're doing a Zoom webinar, and we are also live on all the socials and a few Facebook groups and a few other places. So the point is, there's a lot of moving pieces and parts, and hopefully we will have no tech issues. But we're speaking into no tech issues on the front side. So as you're coming in, just give me a shout out. Like I said, where in the world are you? How are you today? All of the good stuff. And I'm just curious, how many of you feel like you have had a piece of content that went viral? Now, when I say viral, I think the term viral is subjective, meaning, if you don't have a lot of engagement at all on any of your content, and then all of a sudden you post something and there's a lot of engagement on it, um, meaning more than normal, more than what you would normally get, then that's what I would call contagious content, where, you posted something that really resonated with your audience, and that they loved and they started to engage with and maybe even potentially share it. So, hey, Carolyn, good to see you. Janelle from Texas and Uganda, welcome. We got you, the UK in the house. Lynn from the UK. So I think there is just a tad bit of a delay on the socials from Zoom, but it shouldn't be too bad. Hopefully, it won't be noticeable for you guys. Okay, so I'm going to pull up my screen. Okay, so we have over on Zoom, we have Paul from Maryland. I'm just pulling up everybody's comments. We've got Stockholm, Sarah from Stockholm. Wow, I'm so excited to see you guys. Literally, people from all over the world. It's always a fascinating thing to me that you can just go live and you have a touch point with so many amazing people from literally all over the world. Hey, Christine from let's see, Christine from Alabama, and then we have Willem. Uh, and from, I'm not sure, Rotaport. That's an interesting location. Okay, so real quick, again, just a few housekeeping things before we get started. Nothing dramatic. We don't have many rules around here. So the only one I have is be nice to each other and don't hesitate to ask questions. I will be answering questions at the end. I try to, keep my focus, not get off on a rabbit trail too much, and just keep the focus singularly on what we're here to talk about. So don't hesitate, though, to ask your questions. I'll make sure that they get answered. I do have my team in the comments, both on Zoom and on the socials. And if we miss you for some reason, if we miss a question, we'll definitely circle back after we're not live. Okay. All right. So I don't want you to feel like you're going to get left out, because that is never our intent. We want you to feel like you're a part of this. That's why we're here. The whole intent of this is to not only talk about contagious content, but you leave here with the know-how to create your own contagious content. And better than that, I'm going to give you some contagious content. How's that? Okay. So let me pull up my screen real quick, and we're going to get moving. All right. So, like I said, the topic for today is how to create contagious content for your socials so that you can get more followers, fans, more engagement, and more sales. let me just do a quick introduction. For those of you who may not know me, I know most of you probably know me. If you're on my socials, you probably know who I am. But I know we also invited several other people's communities, and so if you have no clue why you're here, and if I can help you in any capacity, I just want to share a little bit about myself. My name is Kim Garst. I've owned an online business, various online businesses. I've built seven-figure online businesses over the past, oh gosh, 30 years. I can say that now that my oldest son is 30, because that's when I started this journey. But I've been honored to have received a lot of awards, been featured in some amazing places. I'm a best-selling author. And like I say, I've built my own community, my own social media community, to about 1.5 million. So I love to learn, do, and teach. And basically what I'm teaching you today is exactly that. I have created content, viral content for years. And so I'm going to share some of my top secrets with you guys today. So, if you hang out with me till the end, I'm going to, like I said before, I'm not only going to teach you how to do this, but I'm going to give you a head start. I'm going to give you 30 days worth of viral content, or content that's designed to start people to getting to a place where they're going to engage with you. Not only am I going to give you the content, where it's pre-designed, meaning all you have to do is brand it. I'm going to give you the mechanism to brand it, and I'm going to give you a system for branding the content. I'm sorry, for managing the content, not branding the content. But our system, we use a tool called Monday.com, and actually we're doing this webinar in collaboration with Monday.com. So we're going to give you that entire system. So the system, the content, and a few other goodies as well. So you want to hang in there until the end, because you're going to get some really sweet, amazing content that you're going to be able to take what you learn today into your own social platforms immediately. No holding back. So what you're going to learn today is why kids and kittens rule the internet. Yep. And I would even throw puppy dogs into that mix. So kids, kittens, and puppy dogs. And one super sweet tip that I use to double my free reach, y'all, I haven't shared this really publicly with anybody yet. So this is going to probably blow your socks off. I can't wait to share it. And then what makes content shareable? I mean, why do people share content to begin with? I mean, you can't have viral content or contagious content if people don't share it. So what makes content shareable? And then we're going to talk about 3 viral content must-know rules. I think this is super important. And then how to quickly and easily find or source your own viral content ideas. All of my content ideas that have gone, quote unquote, viral, I didn't just pull out of my hat. I didn't just say, oh, that's going to go viral. No, I have a system for finding great ideas and then, turning that content or that concept into something that resonates with me and my vibe, if you will. And that's what I'm going to share with you guys today. And then my favorite tools for creating viral content. I'm a tools, what's the word? I'm addicted. I have a tool addiction. Yeah, I have a tool addiction. I'll just be honest and transparent and just say that. But I love me some good tools. And so I'm going to give you some of my favorites for creating great viral content. Visual content in particular. But I wanted to start out with just a little bit of a rant. Now, when I say a little bit of a rant, it's really not a rant, it's a fact. But I'm going to make my point around the whole kids and kittens thing, right? So this is my friend Ray Higdon and his lovely wife, Jessica, and their 2 little nuggets. I mean, they're incredible. They're amazing, cute as a bug's ear, whatever word you want to say to describe them. And when he shares them on social media, it's like, it's like people just gravitate to that content. They're like, oh my gosh, they're so cute. Look at that smile. Oh, look at that little hat. And, all the things, right? You've probably done it yourself. You see somebody's baby and you're like, oh, we just have a fascination, right? And a soft spot for babies. So, and then so again, going back to my situation, he's got cutesy babies like y'all. My babies are older. Like I just said, my oldest just had his 30th birthday. So like, what am I going to do? I don't have the cutesy babies, right? So here's my youngest son, Logan, when he was a baby. This was before Facebook, right? He hates when I share this picture, but look at that face. Like, right? If I was to share that today, people would be like, oh my gosh, look at that little cutie, right? Absolutely would happen. I'm sure of it. And then this is what happened when a few years ago, I shared him all grown up, and I got a different reaction. So some lady, hopefully, yeah, I just thought this was an interesting experience where she's like, who is this gorgeous human? And I'm like, well, this is my son. And she's like, so it was a whole different thing. It wasn't the cutesy thing. It was more of a different vibe, I guess. But again, I don't, unless I'm going to post him as a baby or him, as a hot model, like, what am I going to do? Right. So, and to make my point just a little bit more clear, here is Sabrina, Ray's daughter, and I posted a photo of my 2 adult children now with my fur baby. And, they're all cutes and stuff, but, look at her. She's just like adorable. And I want you to look at the amount of engagement that his post got versus my post, right? And that was basically within the same time frame. My point is that kids are always going to win. But if you don't have them, right, what are you going to do? So and I would take it one step further. If you don't have a truckload of puppy dogs or, a kitten, because those are things that people gravitate to in the social space. They gravitate to cute babies, puppy dogs and kittens. And like I say, if you don't have that, like, how do you show up and create content that's going to resonate with your community or your person? So like I said before, I have been creating viral content for years, and content is something that is what I would call a gift that keeps on giving. And, you probably heard that said in relation to blog content in particular, because or content that is what I would call evergreen, like YouTube, for example. You could put up a video on YouTube and it could get bang for a long period of time. But in the social space, usually there's a lifespan on your content. So you could post it, today, and it might have a 24, it could be, honestly, it could be 30 seconds to several days lifespan. Or like on Pinterest, your lifespan of your content is longer. There's a couple of months lifespan on Pinterest. But the point is that it's usually something that's very short-lived in the social space. But I'm going to share something with you guys that I hope it's going to blow your socks off. So I originally posted this image that you see in front of you June 23rd, 2014. So soak that in for just a minute. 2014. What is it now? 2021, right? So it's had over 2 million shares, 8.7 thousand comments, 141,000 emojis. And that's not really the best part. This was actually engaged with, this original piece of content was actually engaged with 2 days ago. This piece of content has continually cycled because people are continually sharing it. That's viral. That is the pure definition of viral. That's something I posted years ago, and it still got juice. It still got life. People are still sharing it. But this is what I really want you to pay attention to. So lean in, okay? So we decided to start sharing some of my viral content from the share. Actually, we're taking the link and we're using Agorapulse, which is the tool that we use for sharing out into the socials for scheduling our content. We take the share link and we drop it into Agorapulse for a couple of reasons. One, we can schedule it, and two, it's easier for us to find it later if we want to reshare it at a later point in time. But this is the pro tip that I want to really key in on. So we're taking the original post, we're sharing it again to my Facebook page, and it is boosting my engagement and my reach over 50% since we've started doing this. So it has really made my reach jump up. Now, if you'll notice, and hopefully you can see on the screen, so the original post, again, was June 23rd, 2014. And the new post has already had 842 additional emojis on top of the ones that I shared with you a moment ago. And it's had 37 comments and 417 shares. That's on top of the original numbers that I quoted you just a moment ago. So if you have a piece of content on your Facebook page, and by the way, you could do this on Facebook, you could do this on Twitter. So you could retweet content that you have on Twitter and get more juice out of it. You could repin something that is very popular on Pinterest. So you could use this strategy on several of your social platforms. But the point is that you could take content that is, had some good engagement on it and then put it back out into your feed. And you could do this periodically to build your fan page reach. Okay. So hopefully that is something that you can wrap your heads around and you're like, oh, I'm excited about that concept, that I could do that. Now, you may say to yourself, well, I don't have viral content yet. Yet is the key, because before you leave here today, you are going to understand what contagious or viral content can be, what it's going to mean to you, and then how you can do what I do. I'm not special. I don't have anything that you don't have. I don't have anything that you can't do, or I don't do anything that you can't do. I'm not teaching you anything today that you can't do. Okay. So let me give you a few more examples. Here's another one. This particular one was posted originally back in 2015, and it has had over 500,000 shares, over 500,000 comments, 148,000 emojis. Again, it's had some interesting engagement over the years, and it was engaged with just 5 days ago. So it has consistently been a gift that keeps on giving from a content perspective. It's continued to build my insights. My reach is expanded because of the constant engagement with that content. And then we're sharing it again from the post, and it's had 20 new shares, 1,000 new comments. Again, based on that strategy, that little pro tip that I gave you just a moment ago. So this works, y'all. This is a great way for you to get new engage or new or get free reach, organic reach from existing content. And then here's another example, 3.8K shares, 1.3K emojis, and another example, 1.7K shares, 800 comments, over 17,000 emojis. So, and this one, of course, was fairly frequently. This was July of last year. Point being is that I have consistently created contagious content over the years. And I strike a new contagious content post probably once or twice a week. Now, granted, the numbers are not as high as they were when reach was a little easier to get, back in 2015. But they're still pretty amazing numbers for where we are today, where we're fighting for reach and where, it's got to a place where you almost have to pay to play. Here's one that we just posted just a few days ago. It's already got 1.2K shares, 165 comments, and 2.3K emojis. So like I say, again, about a couple of times a week, we find one that, just really resonates. And I've gotten pretty good at spotting the ones that I think will take off. Now, I'm not always right. But, I usually try to get, a couple that I think are really going to take off. Here's a few more, just quick examples. And you'll see that there's some common themes to this content. I call it engaging content. It's designed to get people to talk or talk with me or show up in a relatable way in some capacity. And here's a great example, welcome to my house rules. I live here, you don't. If you don't want your dog hair on your clothes, stay off the furniture. The point is that people who have dogs get this, it's relatable to them, and people share relatable content. If they can connect with it, and we're going to talk about that when we get to the place where we're going to talk about why do people share content. But I really wanted to set the stage for the fact that content is absolutely the king of the house for sure. But when you can get people to engage with it, that's where the magic really starts to happen. So I want you to think about this in the context of fishing. Now, I am not a fisherman, but I love this analogy because it makes sense in my head. So many times when I'm teaching content strategies to business owners, they'll be like, okay, Kim, all those examples are fluff. They have nothing to do with my business. So why would I use it? Or use that type of content, inspirational posts or humor or, relatable content. That doesn't make any sense to me. Do you know I'm a business? Hello. And my response is this: y'all, listen, lean in. This is super important. We are fishermen. We are fishing. We're trying to hook our person. There's a big pond of water. Just envision yourself standing on the dock, and there's a big pond, there's a big body of water out there. Your person is in that body of water. Now, I know this sounds a little ridiculous, but just go with me for a second. And the things that we put out into the world, we drop it out there. If you're a fisherman, I think the term is chum. So you're dropping this big bucket of stuff out in there. It's supposed to attract your person. Attract the fish to you, right? So that you can hook them. That's what your content is. Your content is chum. And if you are going to throw out all the things that are business related, that's almost a repellent if people don't have a know, like, and trust factor with you already. So if you're just like, buy from me, buy from me, buy from me, well, guess what? People aren't going to buy from you. But if you show up in a relatable way and people start to like you and, appreciate your humor or your content, then they're more likely to buy when you put something in front of them that is going to be something that they're interested in. So again, think of it, the content that you put out there that's relatable, as an attraction piece. It's a way to attract people to you so that you can build out the know, like, and trust factor with them at a faster rate. So let's talk about what makes content shareable. Why do people share content? There's some psychological factors behind it. If you are looking at this post or this picture that's on the screen right now, this was shared over 64,000 times. It was not boosted. It has all the reach on it was over 64 million. Sorry about that. I misspoke. But again, it's not something that's necessarily business focused, but it is certainly relatable. It certainly connects with people on a human to human basis, right? And if you're worried about content and then trying to figure out what makes content go viral, and you're like, okay, or is this content suck? Is it political? I've heard you shouldn't share political content, or kittens, puppies, babies. And then you start to go, yes, no. It's just like overwhelm right out the gate. So let's just try to focus in on just a couple of key things, okay? the first thing that makes content viral or contagious is it has to be share worthy. I mean, and then you're like, okay, I get that. That makes sense, Kim, but how do you create content that's share worthy? Um, I want to first really focus in on the fact that people love to share. I mean, we do it all the time. You probably share stuff routinely through the course of your day without even realizing you do it. Whether it's, a great restaurant that you went to, or, a movie you watched, or a TV show, or a favorite tool, or there's so many things that we share in the course of just the normal day to day. But when we are in the social space, it's a little deeper than that, honestly. And honestly, from a perspective of what really drives us, it's going to be interesting when I say this, because you're going to be like, you're going to fight me on it. But if you think about it, I think you'll agree with me. But I want you to understand how much content's being shared in the social space. There's, almost 500,000 tweets per minute. YouTube watchers are watching over 4 million videos every stinking minute. Instagram users upload, almost 70,000 posts per minute. Every minute on Facebook, 293,000 statuses are updated and 136,000 posts are uploaded. How in the world, I mean, how can we be competitive in that space, right? That is a ton of content. But people share, people pick out what they want to share. And it's all about what attracts them. They're viewing photos, they're watching videos, they're sharing content with everyone, or they're sharing content one to one. There's more of that than ever today, where, they'll see something and they think of somebody and they share it. This is particularly prominent, I think, on Instagram, more so than maybe even other social platforms. But as you can see, it's happening. It's not like this, it's not like you don't have this opportunity. We all have this opportunity to take advantage of the share feature, or let me back up for a second. The need for people to share. We all have that same opportunity to take advantage of people's need to share. Okay, so, from a psychological perspective, a lot of people want to bring value or entertaining content to others. They wanted to define ourselves to others. In other words, the content that you put out into the world says something about us, right? They want to grow and nourish relationships, self-fulfillment, to get the word out about causes or brands. But honestly, when it comes right down to it, it's self-serving. So really what people care about when they share is relationships, image, and influence. And I know you're probably like, well, I'm not that self-serving, but we really are. I mean, everything that we share it comes from a place, a need to, show up in some way. Maybe we want to build, if we're in the business of building relationships, if that's our goal in social media is to build relationships, then that could be a big part of why we share content. Certainly one of the reasons I share content. But just by virtue of that, the influence also comes, because if you're sharing great value-based content, you're also building your influence with the people that are attracted to your content. So really, people share because they care about themselves. It's not about you at all. And, it's a little tough to hear, but think about it in that context. When you put content out into the world, they're going to share your content, not because you created it, not necessarily. It's because it resonated with them in some capacity, and they want to put it back out into the world. They want their people that they know and are connected to see this piece of content, and whether it's humorous or sad, or there's lots of, from an emotional perspective, why again people share content. So when we care, we share. I love this saying by Jonah Berger because it's true. If we are truly invested from an emotional perspective, so again, they share because of a selfish reason, essentially. And then they also share because they're connected to the content in some capacity. It makes them laugh. It makes them cry. A variety of things. I've often said, if content makes somebody laugh or cry, you've got them. So if you can hook people, if you're chum, going back to the fish analogy, if your chum is it attracts somebody to you and it connects with them emotionally, they're way more likely to share that content. And there's all kinds of reasons that people connect emotionally to your content. It could be, again, they laugh. Maybe they're just interested in it, or it makes them happy, or gives them joy, or pleasure, or trust, or hope. Lots of reasons on the positive side. There's also negative factors as to why people share. You've probably seen, like, super sad stories, but they resonate, and you feel led to share them. And that's what happens. I mean, so again, going back to why people share, think about it when you are putting your content out into the world. Is it going to be something that's going to be a positive message? And is it going to be something that's got a negative message? And maybe a combination of both. Because you can take, I think, a negative and turn it into a positive. Videos are huge, right? Well, they've always been big, but they are great. They are gaining massive ground when it comes to what people are consuming. So I think from that perspective, you need to be aware that video is so incredibly powerful. But videos that elicit positive emotions, such as exhilaration and hilarity, get 40% more shares than videos with negative themes. I mean, I'm sure many of you have seen the Chewbacca video, right? Incredible amounts of engagement on that. It made people giggle, and she has gone on to build an incredible business around a very simple experience that she shared. She never had because I've had this conversation with her. Her intent when she went live with that video wasn't, one, to go viral, and two, it wasn't to start a business off of the back of it. So it was just a moment of sharing something that, she thought was hilarious, and so did other people. And those are the types of things that get people going. Those are the types of things that drive viral content. So let's talk about I've got 3 viral content tips for you. From the perspective of, again, why is this going to work for you or not going to work? I think your content should be visual, meaning not necessarily text-based. It doesn't mean you can't have text on your image, but it should be visual and thumb-stopping. And it should be an interruption. I think an interruption is super important today. Something that's unexpected, maybe. And this doesn't necessarily, if you already have a brand and a look and, things like that you don't want to deviate from, that's okay. But I think if you can create content that is eye-popping, attention-grabbing, that's unexpected, that's an interruption from the norm, you have a better chance of winning in this viral game. And a real shocker, why? Why do we need to create visual content? It's because visual content is processed by our brains 60,000 times faster than text. Now think about that, and think about the way you consume content, because if you're thumbing through your phone, I bet you 9 times out of 10, you're focused on the visual components first. I mean, even when I'm reading a blog post, I find that I scan for like the highlights and the imagery first. And then, if something catches my eye, I'll read the text. But visual content is where it is at. Whether that's just a static image that's unexpected or, has a message that people are going to engage with, or whether it's video content. The movement is an interruption in the feed, so movement does work. And then I want to just give you some stats to prove that what I'm saying about this from the perspective of the visual components and why they work. So blog articles containing images receive 94% more views. 94% more views, y'all. And then tweets that are posted with images are retweeted 150% more compared to those that don't have a visual image. And on Facebook Facebook posts that are posted with images receive 3 times more engagement than posts that don't have any images. Again, these are just stats, industry. I've seen, straight up text posts that have done super well before, but across the board, these stats hold true for the average person or the average business owner. Okay, viral content number 2, tip number 2 for you guys. You got to understand your person. Now, in other words, when I say you got to understand your person, who are you trying to attract to you with the chum? Going back to the fishing analogy that you're throwing out into the water. Do you want to attract a woman that's, between the ages of blah, 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 right? Or is your ideal client a man? You need to make sure that your content is geared towards whoever it is that you're trying to serve and trying to attract to you. And you can't approach it by viewing those people with a dollar sign on their foreheads. You remember, viral content doesn't start with a buy, nor, in fact, if anybody has ever seen a viral post that is a sales component, a sales message, then I want to see it. I do. I've never, ever seen a viral piece of content that says buy, versus something that's just super relatable that has just gone crazy. So you got to understand that your person doesn't care about you and your business out the gate. They care about what they care about. If going back to if your person's a woman on an average day, and let's assume she's, still got littles at home. She's in the car, she's driving places, and she's dreaming of a spa day. But all the other things that are pulling on her attention, and we want some of that attention. But you got to remember where she's at. Maybe she's got 2.5 of these, so again, she got screaming kids in the backseat of her car or in her home or wherever. And she's got a couple of puppy dogs that, need to go out, or barks when the doorbell rings, or when she's trying to, get on the internet to do some work or whatever it is. And then there's the dirty dishes, right? And maybe she has one of these. So she has to take the trash out. I know these are a little stereotypical, but this is supposed to be humorous. I want to point out the fact that our person has a life. And we're trying to grab some of their attention. Their time is extremely valuable. So our content has to be great. It has to be king. Because when it comes down to it, and everybody's heard the saying that content is king, but engagement rules the roost. Engagement is where it is. It doesn't matter if you have the best piece of content ever in the history of ever, if nobody sees it and nobody engages with it, because you've just created a piece of content that's essentially worthless, even though it's extremely valuable. So it's a bit of an oxymoron. And I bet you anything that if I was to ask, in fact, I'll ask right now, have you created a piece of content in your business that you thought was like, the bomb diggity, this is so good. My person is going to love this. And yet you put it out into the world and it was crickets. So again, the engagement piece has got to come into play, because there's thousands of marketing messages every day. It's super crowded out there. It's very tough to stand out in today's marketplace. We have to understand it's not about you or me or us. It's all about them, and they know it. They know they have options today. It's like today it's a seller's market. It's an our person's market too. It's a wide open field. Used to, there was a few options, and you'd go into the grocery store and I'll say maybe 1950s, maybe you go into the grocery store and there's a couple of brands of cereal. Now you go into the grocery store and there's 2 aisles of cereal choices. That's what we're up against, y'all. We're up against a lot of choices out there. And it's hard because people are on social to connect with family, to friends, and to memories, maybe potentially to news and events. And to entertainment. That's why video is so powerful right now. But bottom line, things that matter to them. So in the social space, we have to show up and matter to them in some way in order to gain their time and attention. So people are going to connect with you around something that they care about way before they connect around your products and services. So you have to have, in my opinion, you have to go into this, and whether this is you as a business owner or whether this is you as a social media manager where you're doing content and creating content for your clients, you have to understand that in order to attract whether it's your person or whether it's the person that you're trying to attract for the client that you have, you have to show up with some relatable content as well. You have to, have some content that is going to attract that person. You have to have some yummy stuff that they're going to bite on, essentially. And it's probably not a buy now from, message. Okay. Now this is where the secret sauce starts to come together with the ideas and the content and the strategy behind everything. You have to understand, if you understand your person, then the next piece is you have to understand yourself. Now, this is hard. Now, I'm going to just tell you this straight up. When I first started in the social media space, I struggled to find my voice. I was like, okay, I sit down in front of my computer. I was like, what am I going to share today? What's everybody else doing? And it was very difficult when I first started. And you may be there, where you're like, I don't know what to share. I don't know what to say. I don't know, what's going to work. All of those things. So you have to get a handle on the hill that you stand on. Okay. And I'm going to give you a framework for that real quick, because I think if you don't know this, you're going to struggle to define what types of viral content you can create and what is going to match up with your value system. Okay. So newsflash, there is nothing new under the sun except you. I think lots of times we try to, look around and see what everybody else is doing. Let's do what they do. And I'm not saying that there's not value in paying attention necessarily to, maybe what others are doing, but the magic is your spin. That is the difference maker. That is what's going to attract people to you. I would bet you that those that are listening or watching, even on the replay, there's probably at least 100 other people, maybe thousands of other people doing exactly the same thing that you're doing. Does that mean that you all can't do the same thing and that you all can't have a successful business? No, it doesn't. So what some of those businesses are going to be more successful than others because the owner of that business stands up and stands out. And that is what attracts people to you. And so you are that magic sauce, essentially. You have to show up and, let people see you. And then it goes back to, well, how are you going to do that? So I learned this lesson early on. I posted this like 2012. So this goes back to a minute or two. And I had gone to the beauty shop to get my hair highlighted. I posted it on social media. And I generated a client from this. They sent me a Facebook message and said, if you can put yourself out like that, then I want to talk to you about, hiring you for XYZ. So it ended up being like a $10,000 contract from this photo. No, I mean, this is not a made up story. This is a true experience that I had. So when I say you, meaning sharing what you're comfortable sharing in that framework, you might not have been comfortable sharing something like this, but that's why you have to understand yourself. That's why you have to understand what your compass is. And I would suggest that, when I started, I just got started with social media, but if you're just getting started, or if you're not successful using the power of social media yet, I would even say step back from social for just a little bit, because it doesn't start with you. It doesn't start with social media. It starts with you, and you have to figure that part out. What is it that you're here for? What do you stand for? And more importantly, how do you want to show up and serve? And like I said, I had trouble with this. I see a lot of people struggling with it, figuring out who they are and what they care about can take just a little bit of work. So I actually have taught this technique for years. And when it comes to social media, though, and understanding who you are and what kind of content matters the most to people, it's sorry about all the Slack notifications there, but it's super important because the framework for who you are and what you care about attracts, and the content that you put out into the world attracts your person. So, when I share content that's relatable, or I share, who I'm. Let me back up for a second. Going back to my friend Ray, who has littles at home, and my littles are all grown up and 6'4" now. Totally different dynamic, right? He's going to attract a different person than I'm going to attract, even though I can probably help his person with the same types of things he helps them with. Well, some of the same things. And potentially he could help my person with some of the same things that I would help his people with. So the point is that everybody has their people, everybody has their tribe. Maybe you're not super Miss Personality. You're like, oh, I'm an introvert. I'm a little laid back, and I'm not super exuberant. Well, there's people like that is attracted to people like that. Or maybe you are that high energy person, and there are people that are attracted to that too. Point is, everybody has a tribe for themselves. And the content that you put out into the world is what attracts people to you. So basically, this is a strategy that's built around yourself. I call it a 5-star compass. I'm going to sum it up real quick because I really want to get to the next piece of this. But I want you to really think about this. And I do have a worksheet that I'm going to throw in at the end. So don't stress over like trying to copy this or anything right now. I'm going to give you this at the end. It's one of the goodies that I mentioned on the front side. But I want you to think about what you care about. What is your top 5 things? Like I've just made a list of things here, family, giving back, integrity, diversity, all the stuff. And this can change, by the way. I mean, what's important, your top 5 things can shift. But in this context, thinking about it from pulling out 5 things, your top 5 things that I call them the hill that you stand on. And here's mine, just so you get a feel for how you take a list of things and then, pull the things out that are most important to you. So for me, it's faith. I do share my faith on social media. I know a lot of people say not to do that, but it's such a core part of me that I feel like I wouldn't be authentic if I didn't. So I do share my faith. My family, super important to me. Giving back, specifically my knowledge. I'm very passionate about sharing what I've learned over the years and giving that knowledge back. I have to love what I do or I don't want to do it. I've got to a place where, if I don't love what I do, then, again, I don't need the money bad enough to do it, right? Essentially. And then the financial freedom is just the last thing. So I kind of ordered it in the way that I view it from my priority perspective. So when you do this and you figure out your 5 things, and again, it could be 5, it could be 4, it could be 6, essentially. But when you figure out your 5 things, then everything is going to be single threaded through this. So the content that you create and share is again going to be reflective of these values. And I do this, the content that I share is single threaded through this, but I do it through humor, motivation, primarily inspiration, and education. So if you were to look back at my compass and my 5 core things, all of those 5 things would fit in, or I could fit all of these things into those 5 areas. So just from the capacity of, understanding yourself, and then it helps you define your content. It'll help you figure out your social. If you figure out that process, then it'll be easier to create content, curate content ideas, and then communicate them through uh, in a way that is true to yourself, which is why the authenticity piece is so, so important. And why you show up authentic. If you share content that doesn't come from your core value system, then people, it doesn't take long for people to understand that that's not real, that's fake, and you're fake. So it's super important to understand this right out the gate. Okay, so next up, I want to share my 3-step process. So I've gone through a lot here, but you may be thinking to yourself, okay, so I'm not like super good at like coming up with ideas. So how do I do this, Kim? So I'm going to show you how to research or source your ideas, make the content yours, because even if you come up with an idea, you still have to go back to your compass, right? And say, okay, how would I say that? Like, how would I share that idea or that concept? And then you have to design the content, or whether it's designing it like a visual content piece, or whether you're going to just talk about it in a video. Either way. So one of my favorite tools is BuzzSumo. Now, BuzzSumo is a little bit on the higher end price-wise, but I literally use this tool every day. You can find viral content, meaning blog content. You can also use it to search Facebook for content that's super popular. And you can start out with a free trial. So it's free to $41 a month, essentially. Like I say, it is one of my favorites. I think I got this backwards. I meant to say, I thought I had BuzzSumo in here first, but I guess I didn't. Social Animal. Let me back up for a second. Let me Okay, so I must have deleted accidentally my BuzzSumo slide. So BuzzSumo is one of my favorites. An alternative to BuzzSumo is this Social Animal. It's a little cheaper. BuzzSumo, I think, is free. You can do a 7-day free trial and I think it's $99 a month, if memory serves me. The Social Animal is a little bit cheaper, $41 a month. They do have some higher end packages. So it's not as expensive, but again, there are free ways that you can do this too. So let's talk about that. Instagram, one of my favorite ways of finding great content on Instagram is just searching hashtags. Like, think about it in the context of your person and, what content would potentially show up for a specific hashtag. So like, let's say going back to the women, going back to the fact that your ideal client or customer or person might be a woman, then, one of the ones I routinely check out is women in business, hashtag women in business or women in biz, or female entrepreneurs, or, anything like that, that is going to, the content that's created and tagged is been tagged specifically for that person. So it's basically helping me to navigate through all the people that are in the social space and really just find the people that is most likely to engage with my content. And then I can see what kind of content has been created for those people. And do I get any great ideas? So I can get some great ideas just by searching hashtags. And you can do this, by the way, on Instagram. You can do this on, technically, you can do it on all the socials. You can do it on Facebook even. But I love Instagram for this because it's so visual. You could do it on Twitter as well. I've definitely done that before. Pinterest is another. I'm a big, big fan of Pinterest for the exact same reason I just said for Instagram, because it's visual and I can consume so much content and I can get so many ideas or filter through so many ideas very quickly. So from a perspective of finding great ideas, you can create some private boards, which if you see a great idea or, see a piece of content that's like, oh, that's done very well, or I like this design element, I'm going to put this in my private board for my ideas and inspiration. So you can draw upon that. Whether you're looking for a humorous quote or whether you're looking for, inspiration or whatever, Pinterest is a great place to source content ideas. You can also, save it, like I said, to reference it later by, putting it on those private boards. Now, once you come up with the idea, you can't just take somebody's idea and say, oh, that's my idea, and all of a sudden. So my suggestion is to take an idea, find a content, source the ideas, come up with the idea, and then change it in some way. Maybe showcase your personality, maybe change the language or the phrasing of it a little bit. Maybe definitely you want to change and align it with your brand, your voice, your colors, things of that nature. Target market, make sure that it is, relevant or relatable to your ideal person. If your ideal person is a woman, for example, and you're creating content, you probably want to showcase a female in your imagery versus a man, simply because a woman is probably going to be more attracted to, she can see herself in that image, in that role, by how your content is showing up. It's going to attract her and draw her in more than it would if it was a man. So you just got to think about those nuances when you're creating your content. So here's a great example. A girl changes a relationship status from in a relationship to single. And I was like, that's kind of an interesting dynamic. Now, how would I take that piece of content and turn it into something that I would share? So again, just meme focused. Then we created a meme that was based off of this idea, this concept, and turned it into this particular image. So changed your Facebook status, you're in a relationship with me. So totally took the concept, the idea was sourced, but I changed it to be more in alignment with, what I might say or how I would want this, to be funny in the context of something that, again, going back to my social compass, this is more in alignment with me than the previous version of the content. And then the next piece is you got to design the content. You got to make it look good. And I do believe looking good is half the battle, depending on the image or the type of content. Let me speak to that just for a second. If it's a meme, for example, it doesn't have to be fancy smancy because memes are a little messy. They're designed to, to show up and just be that. They're not necessarily a great graphic design work of art, right? But other things like, some of your imagery, your infographics in particular, I do believe need to be easy to consume and read, and they do need to look good because looking good is one of the first measuring sticks. Going back to people consume content, visual content 60,000 times faster. That's one element that you're up against, but the other is attention grabbing. You have to be able to grab their attention, and things that look horrible, people just skip over. And then things that look good, they're more in alignment with, catching their attention. So now that those are your three things and you're at the creation phase, let me just tell you, we are a huge fan here in my business of templates. So we have created a lot of templates, and it makes content creation super fast and easy for us now. Now, when I say we've created, you don't have to do the creation phase. There's tools out there that have tons of templates that are already pre-designed for you. And all you have to do is go, type in your text and put a photo or an image in it. So think about it that in the context of a time-saving endeavor for you is what can you use that's template-based that you can do rinse and repeat model for it. So a couple of places you can find some great templates. Unfold is really great. The reason that Unfold has been around forever, but one of the reasons that I'm mentioning them specifically in this training is because there is a trend, a graphic trend right now that is clean, modern, and minimalistic. And finding those types of templates are not always easy in some of the tools, but Unfold has some really incredible ones. So I wanted to highlight them specifically. They have some great templates, very easy for you to create content. Some of their features are that I love is that preview story. So you can actually see it before, after you've created, you can see what it looks like. It's available on both Android and iOS, which I think is super powerful. And and best of all, it's free. I love sharing free tools. Uh, Canva, oops, let me back up for a second. Most of you guys are probably pretty familiar with Canva. Canva is innovating very, very rapidly, and they do have a lot of customizable templates. You can change your brand, you can put your logos and stuff on it. It's a great resource. But from a template perspective, I would have to give a huge shout out to easel.com. We do have a special link. We'll drop it in for you guys as well. But Easel is their content that is in their back end that's template based has been professionally designed by their graphics team. So the content there is super well done, little higher end. More professionally looking, if you will, than some of the content that's on Canva. Some of the stuff that's on Canva has been user generated, and it's not necessarily quote unquote professionally done. So I think that if you're looking for templates, Easel's a great place to find some great content, and you can try them out for free. But it is only available in. Okay, why am I not? Hang on a second. I am not. Oh, there we go. I was having a tech issue for a second. All right, let's talk about video editors because I've talked about the need for or the potential use of video specifically for creating thumb stopping and viral content. Video editors that that are my personal favorites are InShot. I love InShot. One of the reasons that I'm a huge fan of this tool is it's got tons of features, but I love the fact that it allows you to size your content. So, if you are doing an Instagram story, you can size it for an Instagram story. If you're doing a Facebook post, you can size it for Facebook. If you need it any other size, you can make it any other size. So that to me is huge. There are definitely other tools that do the same thing, but you will not be sorry if you decide to invest in this. It is $2.99 and well worth every penny in my estimation. Splice is another tool I thought I would mention real quick because there's so much interesting content, or so many things that you have to struggle with, I think, today when it comes to creating content. And I'm always about what tool is going to make it easier for you to do some of the things that you want to do without all the headaches. So a couple of things that's super cool about this is it automatically syncs videos to the music's beat. Okay. So if you're creating content for, like Instagram stories or, reels or things of that nature, I think this would be super value-based to you. It also adjusts the playback speed. It does all the traditional editing features and stuff like that, but it does have some interesting functionality. Now, I also wanted to bring this up. It's a tool called CutStory, and these are all apps for your phone, obviously. But the reason that I wanted to bring this to your attention, especially if you're creating content on your phone, is there's a huge push right now to what I call short form content. Whether that's stories, and all the platforms now have stories. LinkedIn has stories, Pinterest has stories, Facebook has stories, Instagram has stories. YouTube now has YouTube oh goodness, I forgot what it's called. It's not coming to me, but they have short form content there that is vertical. And of course, TikTok and Snapchat. And these are all, small increment pieces of content. But it's hard to sit down and record a 15-second, and especially if it's going to be longer than 15 seconds. So the nice part is that you can create a piece of content. It could be a minute long, or it could be 45 seconds long, whatever it is. And then you could pull it into Cut Story, and it will splice it in whatever increment you want, whether you need it in 15-second increments for, Instagram stories, or whether you wanted it to be longer for YouTube, for example. I think YouTube's are a minute, can be up to a minute in length. So, and I forgot to put Twitter on here, but Twitter also has short form content called Fleets. So lots of options when it comes to, short form content. Definitely something I want to make it easier for you to create this content and then share it. It also, I want to make sure I mention this, because when it cuts the content for you, it does it in chronological order and saves it to your phone. So there's no more like, okay, which piece of this goes first? It's all sequential, and you won't get lost when you go to upload it to the platform of your choice. Or you could just upload it through the tool as well. Okay, so let's talk about adding just static images with some creative flair to it. How would you do that? Some of my favorite tools for this, especially that are app-based, if you're not using like a tool like Canva or Easel that you're doing that from your desktop. If you're creating content on the fly or creating it on your phone, then Typorama is amazing. It's been around for a while, but you can create a lot of really cool content using this little tool. HypeType I love because it's a combination of static imagery and movement, which I said before, movement is super powerful because it's a thumb-stopping opportunity. It catches people's eye and they're more inclined to stop and pay attention to it. This is also super good for like story content because, it showcases that movement. So HypeType is a great little tool. I'm going to pull over back out because it does some really great things as well. And if you're going to use it for templates, it just stands to reason that, you would use it for just graphic design. It's got a lot of text features. It's just a really great little tool. And I would be remiss if I didn't give you a couple of tools that would create your captions, because y'all, people don't listen to our content. They read the captions, which is kind of bizarre if you think about it in the context of, the movement feature catches their attention and then they read it versus listening. Now, some people will, once something catches their attention, they'll listen in. But a lot of people consume content on silent and they just read the captions. So having a tool to do that, there's a couple that I'm going to recommend that are iOS based. Clip-O-Matic. I love Clip-O-Matic because it has different features where, different looks for your captions. You can put them at the top or, and the visual display of it you can choose different looks for it as well. And then Apple Clips is another great little resource that you can download. It's again an iOS or an Apple app. Love it as well. And the interesting part about this is you can actually edit your video to make it look, like an illustration, which I think is, again, from a thumb-stopping perspective, it shows up a little differently. So definitely check that out. If you have an Android, you're not on an Apple or an iOS device, then there are options. This is the only option I've found so far for doing the captions over top of your video on your phone. Now, there are some apps that you can use that are desktop based, but AutoCap for Android would be something I would recommend. Okay, so one last little tool for you. I'm going to give you a list of tools too, so don't stress so much over, I guess I should have said that on the front side, writing all these down. But if you have a business where tutorials would be super beneficial to your community or the people that you're trying to attract, like I think this would be super powerful right now in the context of Reels or TikTok in particular, where you would want to potentially create some tutorials. But Jump Rope is an interesting little platform that allows you to shoot or import a step by step. You can crop, trim, speed up, filter videos. And then, of course, you can export those to Instagram, YouTube, and other social platforms. But it breaks it up for you. It's hard to explain it without showing it, but it's a great little resource for you. And I'm going to sum this up before I share the goodies I have with you. I think if you really embrace this concept of viral content or content that's going to matter to your person, and you approach it from a place of authenticity and service, then everything else will fall into place. But it goes back to, you have to show up in a way that matters to the person that you're trying to attract. And that's why I think having content that's going to engage with people, that's going to attract people to you around things that matter to them, or is going to get them to, giggle or connect or feel some sort of an emotion, is going to give you a greater opportunity to build out the opportunity to create more sales by virtue of creating that mix of content where you're having some relatable, I call it relatable content, and then you're also having that interspersing your business related content into the mix. Okay, so I promised that I was going to give you this wonderful 30 days of a jump start on your viral content or your contagious content. This content's been pre-designed for you, and I'm going to show you the system for it as well. So let me give you the link first. So and these are two additional things that I'm going to throw into the mix. 13 must-have tools for creating contagious content, and my 5-star social compass worksheet so that you can figure out what you stand on, like who you are, what is super important to you. And if you do that, then the content piece will start to come into play because everything will be filtered through that lens from there on out. And from the perspective of how you get this 30 days of content and the system for it. So let me tell you a quick story, okay? So up until about 4 years ago, even though I've owned an online business and had various online businesses for over 30 years now, I am proud to say, or ashamed to say, one of the two. I can't be ashamed of it because it's just where I was. It's just part of my growth process. Is I didn't have the first system. Everything was in my head. And every time I would hire someone or try to hire someone, I would have to sit down and train them and go through the process, of what I wanted them to do. And many times it was easier for me just to do it myself than to sit down, take the time and try to train someone. Anybody understanding that, right? If it feels like you, and you are in that place yourself where, you've tried to hire somebody and it just didn't work out, then I just want you to lean in for a second and listen to my experience, because up until 4 years ago, I didn't have the first system, like nothing. It was all in my head. And I was working myself to death. Seriously, I would get up at 5 a.m. every morning to answer tweets. I was doing all the stuff all the day, all the live long day, and working, 16, 18 hours a day. So about 4 years ago, I hired an operations manager, and she's like, and she got a little rough with me, but she's like, Kim, you got to get all that stuff out of your head. One, we don't know what to do. How are we supposed to help you if we don't know what to do? So she really just set me down every time there was a task that needed to be done. She picked my brain, and then she put everything into a process for us, a checklist, what steps needed to happen. And so what I'm getting ready to share with you, if you go to kimgross.com, a social media planner, give me just a second. I'm going to share a different screen with you. Then, you will see what one of our systems. Okay, so let me share a different screen here. So if you'll follow that link, you'll come to this location that is, manage your content with Monday.com. So through this process, we found a tool called Monday.com, and we started implementing and building all of our systems out in this platform. So you can go through the process. It doesn't cost you anything to sign up for this. There's a 28-day. I know the website says, I think it says 14 days, but they're giving us 28 days for anybody that's on this training. Can sign up, and they get 28 days to test it out to see if you like it, if you want to use it going forward. But once you go through the process, you'll end up with a system inside of your new Monday.com account. Now, this is the social media planner. It's, as you can see, there's a month in here, so you could build out subsequent months. But I've got a month already built out for you. Day one, so this would be like, again, depending on what month you want to start. And you'll see that there's a place for the copy. So the post copy is here. We categorize all our content. So is it inspiration? Is it fill in the blank? Is it question? Is it this or that? What is it? And then the image itself. So if you click on the image, you'll see a preview of the image. And it's supposed to pop up here. It's just acting super slow. But all right, come on. Well, that's not necessarily what I want to show you anyway. You should be able to see a preview of the image. You can see a little thumbnail of it right here. But if you click on edit the brand colors, which is the edit URL over here, then it will take you to easel.com. Now, again, you can sign up for this account totally for free. And once I'm already logged into this account, but the point that I wanted to show you, and that's super important, is you can come in here and you can change this content, the colors to this to match your brand colors. You can change the wording if you don't like it exactly the way it is. You can change the fonts. You can add your logo to it. So there's 30 days of content here. And again, it's all been pre-designed and specifically thought out for the purpose of getting people to talk and engage with you in your business. So grow through what you go through. There's others as well. I'll just open a few of them for you so you can see a couple of ideas. Have a perfect day. There's a whole bunch of different types of different content style, different categories of content in here. It might be a question. It could be a this or that. The this or that's are usually designed for comments, because people engage with that. They physically give you a response. Others might be designed to get people to share the content. But the point is that they're all designed specifically for specific goal sets, again, to just ultimately get people to engage with the content. But 30 days of content, you can duplicate this and, use this for subsequent months. Not only that, but you'll also see on over is, you can track where you post it. So, you can put Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest. There's little drop downs, for scheduling, scheduled, or published. So you can keep track of your content, if it's for scheduling, for example. And this way we know, like, this content's been moved into Agora Pulse, which is our tool of choice for scheduling. And we know exactly where it is in the process. So this is not only is it the content, but it's a system for managing and organizing and keeping track of your content. So we wanted to give this to you guys. It is, like I say, it gives you a jump start on the viral content or the contagious content concept. And I do have a quick challenge for you. Hopefully you'll go grab this and you'll get started with it. But something you can do before all of this, I want you to go to your social platform of choice. Now, whether you create an image or you just drop in a text-based post, that's totally up to you. But drop in this peanut butter and blank. Just that simple thing. Peanut butter and blank. You're like, that has nothing to do with my business, Kim. I don't understand that. Like, why would you tell me to do that? It's because people are going to answer that question and you're going to get some weird answers. Peanut butter and eggs, peanut butter and mayo, peanut butter and tomatoes, peanut butter and, yeah, I get some weird answers, but it always works because people can't help but answer. So again, you got to remember that viral content is has to be contagious to start with, so people have to start to engage with it, and then it gets viral, then it grows. Um, Peanut butter and jelly. That's my favorite mix, personally. All right, so I promised that I was going to answer questions if we had any. So we've got questions in a couple of places, so let me figure out where all the questions are, if I have any. Let me see real quick. So this is a new platform for me, the Q&A. Okay, so my team has done an amazing job on Zoom answering questions. Now, let me see if I've got any questions on the socials that didn't get answered. All right. All right, it looks like Rhonda got all the links dropped in on the socials for the freebies and where you get the content calendar and the content itself. So Deb asked a great question. She's like, can you export the post into a CBS file to import into AgoraPulse? And I'm almost positive you can. Rhonda is probably the one to answer that for sure. But I'm pretty positive that you can. So let me quickly explain that process to you guys. So AgoraPulse is an incredible social media tool. It helps you manage, schedule your content and put it out into the world. And so if you have a CBS file, you can actually upload it directly to the tool, and then all you have to do is tell it when you want it to post, which saves a lot of time and energy. And then Lori says, can you use the content planner for just one person, or can it be used for clients too? Lori, I have no problems with you using it with your clients because it's something that I'm using I'm giving away for free. So go for it. If you want to use it with your clients as well, absolutely. And just make sure that you, obviously brand it to their business, change the colors and stuff like that. If it makes sense to do so, depending on, yeah, absolutely. I'm giving this away. So if you want to use it with your clients, go for it. Christine, feel free to reach out to us if it's something that she's asking if she can hire me to help her with her business. Reach out at support@kimgarst.com, and if we'll see if what you need and if we can help. And if we can't help, we'll point you in the direction of somebody who can. All right. Yes. So, Christine, I'm going to lean in real quick. Y'all, Monday is like an incredible team resource for you. So whether you're, using this from just a team perspective, which we definitely do, like, I have my own little list of things where the team, gives me my tasks, if you will, or things that need my attention. And then when I've done what I need to do, I just put done on it and it goes to the next person. We've set it up to where it's automated. So when I finish what I need to do, it goes into whoever needs it next. And it's all, again, just an automated process. So Monday is saved us tons of time. And more importantly, this is what's super important, is we have directly been able to track a monetary savings. So because we can track time with it as well, we have been able to increase our bottom line about 32% because of now we have systems. Now we know, the processes and the time savings and things like that. So we've actually, had a massive increase in our revenue because of the use of Monday. So Joy is saying the apps mentioned, can I run all of them on my iPad and work from there? Yes. So Joy, all of the ones that I mentioned are app based, and the ones that are Apple, you can absolutely use on your iPad. And most all of them were. There was a few. I think there was only one that is not iOS, which was the alternative for the Android caps. But all the others you should be able to use on your iPad, no problem. All right. Oh, Christine. Oh, I understand your question now, Christine. Yes, absolutely. In fact, just have them sign up through the same link, and they can have access to the same. Um, if you just send them to kimgarst.com/social media planner, they can set up their own account. They can have access to the content. They can use the editor, all of it. So feel free to share it. In fact, any of you guys can share it. One thing I would like to say that I forgot to share earlier is, if you didn't sign up for this, in other words, you're live with me and you didn't know I was doing a webinar, I do recommend that you go back and register for this at kimgarst.com/live masterclass. And feel free to share that out with people too, because we're going to have a replay page, and all the goodies will be listed under there. So the social media planner link, the social media compass, all the things that we gave away on this training will be there. So I highly recommend that you just go register, because then you're not having to go back through the links and figure out where this thing or that thing is. Everything will be in one place, and you can always watch the replay if you ever want to. So definitely recommend doing that. I forgot to mention that on the front side. Okay, so I see a question on Zoom. Stan is asking, so which of Kim's ideas, suggestions is the best place to begin for a new business, a one-man business? I would start with your social compass first, Stan. Start there, identify what is most important to you, and then I would start sourcing ideas. Well, let me back up for a second. I would definitely do the compass, and then I would probably use the content that, in the meantime, while you're playing around and trying to figure all this stuff out, I would use the content that I've already designed and created for you. Start using that, because it's a great place to kind of get going without having to have stuff already created or having to go through the creation process. So that would be my first thing. And then the next thing is, starting to source your own ideas and thinking it through from your compass. Like, I probably wouldn't, I'll just use this as a quick example because it's pertinent. I probably wouldn't share a political post. That's just not me. That's just not my thing. Right. A lot of people will say, you should share that, don't share political things, or I might not share things that have vulgar language because that's not my compass. But that doesn't mean that it's not somebody else's compass. Like, it's, if it's your that's your vibe and that's the way you speak, a normal way of doing business. Like Gary V, for example, Gary Vaynerchuk is very prolific with his wording or choice of words. And that's totally cool, because that's who he is. But I wouldn't show up like that. But that goes back to understanding who you are. And he's amazing. I'm not throwing a rock at him. I'm just saying you need to understand who you are, and you need to show up like you are. Don't try to be something you aren't. And, the content that you put out into the world flows through that first thing, that first compass, doing your compass, figuring out what your compass is going to be. And then your content will be so much easier to wrap around. Your choices of content will be much easier to wrap around that structure. Hopefully that answered that question. All right. Any last minute questions? I'm just so excited that you guys showed up today, and that I hope you got some great value, and you definitely go sign up for that social media planner. Register for the webinar if you haven't already, if you're live, for example, because you'll get everything in one place, and it'll be super simple for you to go through the process. One of the things we've also done is we've gifted you guys a template that shows you the process, how to use the actual kind of like a little how-to guide for the social media calendar itself, so you don't get lost once you get in there. And we're going to be doing this again at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today. So if you want to join us again, feel free to do so. We're going to be live on Zoom and all the socials one more time today. I'm a big fan of Monday.com, and I want to shout them from the rooftops. But the thing that that keeps you consistent in social media is, one, you have to have the content, but two, you have to have a system for sharing it. And at being organized and having a plan is so much easier and so much better than flying by the seat of your pants. Trust me, I've been there. All right. Well, take care of yourselves, and we will see you guys. Yes, it's so 3 p.m. will be 2 p.m. Central. So, Christine, if you want to invite your team to come back at 3, let's do it. Just invite them, as many that wants to come. And like I say, there will be a replay. They can register for that as well. All right. All right. Well, take care of yourselves, guys. Stay